Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to The Law, Your Money, and You. I'm Roberta Saphire, an attorney in Sharon, Massachusetts.
Hi, and I'm Camille Barron, a healthcare advisor and financial coordinator, also in Sharon, Massachusetts. And Roberta, today we're fortunate to have a guest who's been with us in the past, and he has such wisdom that he shared with us in the past about the human connection and how important it is to all of our strategic relationships. It's especially pertinent now during the COVID pandemic, where we don't have the opportunities as much to connect person to person.
Yes, and I have to keep repeating, Stewart has a wonderful expression for not just his clients, but for all of us to use if you want to succeed. Care and show that you care. And it's wonderful, and if you follow it, I think you'll be fine. It's a good step, a good step. So Stewart, let's get back to tell us about yourself and then tell us what's new with the COVID and how you're handling that, and go for it, and welcome back.
Well, thank you. First of all, it's so nice to see you again and to join you again for your wonderful program, The Law, Your Money, and You. I've always enjoyed being on with you, so thank you for inviting me back to join you. By way of simple introduction, I am a recovered, or some people like to say recovering lawyer, after 20 years of law practice, and with a little bit of an overlap. A few years in a big firm, a few years in a small firm, a few years in house. I started another business, and I involuntarily gave up my in-house job so the company could look lean and mean for the banks in 1990, and I started a contract lawyering business and worked for a number of large companies inside their companies as a lawyer, and hired lawyers and managed outside counsel and did all the things one does in-house, but I did it from the outside. And one day I realized in 1994 that I like getting business more than I like doing work, and my friends were asking me, how are you getting all this business? And I gave away my secrets, one of which you just shared, which is be nice to people, care about other people, and show them that you care. And you got to do that from the heart because it's all about people.
So
and I realized,
you represent a lot of women organizations? I remember we had you on the show when
yeah, that was later.
Popular.
That was much later. We can go there, but I started a coaching business in 2001, helping lawyers and other professionals with their business development, and then I eventually got involved with helping leaders as an executive coach. So I'm doing business development coaching for professional services people, mostly lawyers and consultants and others, and also working with both in-house lawyers and other leaders doing executive coaching for them. And I got involved working with women leaders because I was involved with a program to help women become general counsel in Fortune 500 companies, and helped lead that lead some of the programs and design some of the programs. And I found a new calling, which is design, which I absolutely love, designing programs, which has been amazing in the COVID world.
Tell us about
or in the world of COVID.
Yes, tell us about that.
Well, I hate saying that there's silver linings to something as horrible as COVID is. It's been a terrible thing for so many people, and very hard on people that either they are ill or they've had family that's gotten ill. We're wearing masks wherever we go. I usually wear it around my neck because I have to. I visit people and have to have it all the time, but it's caused it's caused us to begin to use technology in a much different and much more effective way, and it's accelerated the pace of our use of that technology, and we're using it right now. And so what I've been doing is designing programs around how to really use this. So I'm doing one for the National Association of Women Lawyers in 2 weeks with somebody else, and it's about how to network at a virtual conference. I mean, people don't know how to do that, and there's so many advantages to networking virtually and a few disadvantages. There's also I've also got invited to do a program for the Association of Corporate Counsel on, we called it Presence for Legal Executives. I did it with the general counsel of a local company from here. And let me tell you the design, because it was really so much fun. We did a role play, 2 role play exercises. I interviewed her for a job, which I don't know if I got because we never finished it, and I gave her feedback. And while we were doing the role play, we asked people to participate by giving their feedback on our role play, like positive and negative, and they got a lot more negative than positive. And we did that on purpose. Some of it, we weren't expecting, but it's good because everyone got to learn. And then we dissected what we learned and what we heard from them. And then we talked a little bit about presence and how to have presence and share presence and so on. There's a wonderful book, I know you love books, called Executive Presence that actually talks about a lot of this stuff. And then we broke people up into rooms, and we asked them to think about somebody they knew that had presence and was able to handle the situation that we gave them. When we had 110 people in our program. There were 345 signed up, but some of them didn't find their way in.
How many people did you put in a room?
We had 4 people in a room.
Ooh.
Maybe 5. I think we might have had as many as 5. I wasn't handling that part of it, but in these breakout rooms, because as you know with Zoom, we can break out people. So while they're in the breakout rooms, we had them talk about how best practices that they saw in situations like presenting to an executive team, presenting to a board, presenting to the entire company, and a number of others. And then we had them track what they said and then put it into our chat later. Mm-hmm. And then we have all that information that we were able to go through and talk with them about. So that's how we used Zoom in a very kind of a unique design. And I was told the program went over well because we weren't talking heads at all. We were having a conversation. And that's the design that one has to do. And I've been invited now to do my training programs on Zoom for some law firms and some other organizations.
Fantastic.
And the idea is to get people engaged. And a lot of people don't realize you can absolutely engage people on Zoom.
How do you recommend people network on Zoom versus if they were physically present? What are some of the differences that people need to understand about that?
Good question.
Well, so if you're on, so the thing is, it depends on the platform you're on, and I know Zoom really well. Some of the other ones have similar features, but let's say you're in a network. If you're in a group that is for networking, so there's a wonderful group in the area called USA 500 that I'm a member of, and that's in this area, and they have chapters. They have chapters in New York, in Boston, in New York, in Washington, D.C., in Connecticut, and they went virtual immediately, like within 2 or 3 weeks after after COVID hit, after everything went quiet in the world. Mm-hmm. And all the meetings were in person before that, and then they went virtual. So we can go to meetings and meet people anywhere. So one of the things to keep in mind when you are networking in a meeting that's designed for networking is that you can go anywhere in the world to do this. You
don't have to make appointments. You don't have to make reservations. You don't have to worry about meeting people, cleaning up.
Well, that's if you're running it. If you're attending, yes. If you're running it, it's very inexpensive. If you're leading it, you have to know how to do breakout rooms and break people up. Yeah. If you're breaking people up, it's a great way to do it is give them something to talk about in the sessions. So when you are in breakout rooms having networking opportunities, you can get to know people. The other thing is, even if you're in a big room where you see a lot of people, you can chat with them. If you're in a webinar-based program, you can't do that. But if you're in Zoom like we are, we could have a chat. And if I had something private to say with Camille, like, Camille, ask me this, I could do that while we're on this call. Now, if we were live doing this program, I could not pass her a note without everybody seeing it. You might see me typing, but you have no idea what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So when you are meeting with a bunch of people in a room, and people are there. Maybe there is someone talking from the, in the that you can see. You can also privately chat with people, talk with people about getting together with them later, continuing conversation. Networking is networking no matter where you do it. But if you can do it by setting up in a chat where you say, I'd like to talk with you later, and you can pass on contact information. You can say, I'll connect with you on LinkedIn. There's just so many ways to do it. But you can't do that if you're in a meeting with a lot of people. The other thing is if you're in a conference. I was at this amazing conference where they had a list of all, you could push a button and see a list of everybody that was in attendance online at that moment, and you could chat with any of them. And I don't know if you've gone to big conferences before, but try and find somebody. It's almost impossible. You have to reach out to each one and you have to have their phone number so you could text them and find them. This makes it easier to do it. The other thing is some of the networking conferences, they have lounges, networking lounges, where you can go and say, okay, I'm just going here to network.
Really?
And there's many new things that are coming out now that people are figuring out. People are just figuring this stuff out now.
Is it
They're
all
just
on
figuring it out.
Zoom? Are there other modems or mediums besides Zoom?
There are other mediums. I'm familiar. I like Zoom the best for this kind of purpose. However, I've seen one where the one I went to where it was the conference. It was a big platform where Zoom could not. I don't think they could do this on Zoom. Our program was on Zoom, which they could pin both of us and people would see us. But the platform itself, that's the one where you can push a button and see all the people that are there and chat with any of them. Some of them, if you update your profile, if you make your profile what it ought to be, you can actually link in with somebody. It goes right to their LinkedIn. That's people that are online in the moment. They're physically there. They may not be paying attention because sometimes people go to these things and they just keep it on all the time.
How about all over the world? We did a Zoom from Brazil.
Oh yeah. I have a client in Australia, and so I've been doing coaching with somebody in Australia that I would never have met. Mm-hmm. It was in a large consulting firm, and it was really fun because I love the accents, and we got to share what's going on in the world around us. I got to hear what's happening in Sydney and Melbourne, with COVID, and we would share, all the trials and tribulations of our respective situations in our countries at the present time. And I've also done classes out of a coaching program that I teach out of Israel, and we have students from all over the world. But I've been doing that for years, so I'm a little ahead on using this platform and on doing things online because of that. I've been doing that program for about 15 years.
What kind of stuff in Israel? That's interesting.
Well, the program I'm doing in Israel, it's called the Refuah Institute, and it's a training program for coaches. And so I teach 4 classes in that program. I teach a class on, we call it how to coach by telephone, but I add how to coach by telephone and video now. I do one on being a trusted advisor because, as you probably know from the last time I was here, we talked about trusted advisor, and one of the co-authors of that book hired me to be his executive coach, and I do a lot of the follow-on coaching from trusted advisor programs that are being done all over the world. In fact, we have 2 we're working on now where there are people situated in various places, and they can all come to the meeting without having to fly anywhere. And I'm going to do the follow-on coaching, so I can attend the meeting too. Because before, with the training, because before it doesn't pay, it doesn't make sense for me to go to it. But now I can watch it from here, and
fascinating.
So it works.
Has COVID interfered at all? Like people say, "Oh, I can't come now," or
I'm sorry, say that again. Ask that again.
COVID, the coronavirus, has it
What about it?
Interfered? Like it had to cancel things because of it, or
because of people being sick?
Yeah.
I have had some of my clients and people in their families having COVID. I think there was one that was really sick, but I got better. Parents getting ill. Hear a lot of that.
But overall, it's kind of like helped because now you can do conferences without going anywhere.
Well, yeah. There's pluses and minuses, and I hate to say COVID has helped. I understand where you're coming from with that. I just hate to say that because it's been so bad for so many people, and so many people are losing jobs, and it's just really difficult for a lot of people. But the technology has improved is being used more. People are more comfortable with it, and it's improved. I saw one program. You asked about platforms. I saw one program that shows people sitting at tables. You can have like 20 or 30, I don't know how many tables, a lot of tables in the room, and you can see who's at each table. You can get up and move to another table to visit with other people. Yeah, these are amazing things that are out there now.
Interesting.
Fabulous.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell us about some of the new techniques and skills that you've acquired and you share with people during some of your sessions.
Yeah.
Oh, where do you start? There's always something new.
Well, you said you had a women's thing coming up. I was interested in that. What are you going to do there?
So that one is I'm doing this with somebody with the membership director from that group I mentioned earlier, USA 500. She's fabulous at this, and we're doing a training on networking at conferences, and so at virtual conferences. And so I shared some of the things that we're going to be sharing at that. We're still working out our details of what we're going to share, and there's do's and don'ts and advantages and disadvantages. The main disadvantage of not being able to go to a conference in person is you don't have those chance meetings, by the food or the drink or whatever. But the goods are. The good things are you don't have to struggle to get out of a conversation anymore, and when you put people in a room, you don't have to struggle to get into a conversation because usually the leader will have questions or things you can work on. And when you're seeing somebody like this, you get to ask about them, about their background. You see people like. When I'm working with people now, or when I'm even in, so one of the things I did as soon as this thing started is I started doing a free program for my clients and anyone that wanted it, law firms and some consulting firms, on how to network or how to take it. I called it business development in challenging times, like what people could do. Mm-hmm. So that was like a thing that I learned very quickly to do that. And to help people, like that's really, we just have to be helping each other. And so I didn't charge for it. I just did it freely for, I couldn't do it for everybody because there was a limited number of people I could do that for. And first I did it with my colleague from the Trusted Advisor. We did one for one of our clients at Trusted Advisor. And then I took some parts of that and some other things that we created together and then created a couple other things. But the main part of that program was to get people to share with each other some of the things that they're doing successfully with their clients, some of the ways that they're looking at this situation positively as opposed to negatively, because it's really easy to get into your head and say, this is awful, it's terrible. It's certainly awful and terrible if people are sick in your family or in your life. It's awful and terrible if people are losing, when you lose people that or losing their job. But there are things that we can do. So I like to look at what can we do that can work. And there are things that we can do that are really positive. We can reach out to people. And right in the beginning of this thing, when this thing first started, people were like, they were cocooning. Everyone was getting back into their little space and worried and nervous. And I was spending my time and recommending in these programs, reach out to everybody you know. Ask them how they're doing. Ask them how their families are. You can ask somebody how your family is, how your loved ones are, and you can build those intimate, as we use that word in Trusted Advisor. You can build those relationships in ways you never could do before because you get to see people in their homes, in an environment that is theirs. You get to see their kids, their dog, their cat, their lives.
What you're talking about, I can picture that they should put that to use in the schools. And I don't know if they're doing that, but I'm thinking of everything that you're saying and how that could adapt to a teacher in a school. And that's you should be giving a course to, because I think they got problems with the schools communicating, getting them.
Well, there's so many issues. I had actually a university professor talk to me about how he could engage his class, at the level of university. How do you engage a class to keep it going. And I have talked to some teachers about it, and it's hard. It's hard. I don't know how they've been trained or whether they've been trained. I don't have little kids anymore, so I don't know. But I do hear from people, and I hear, especially in the business world, my clients who have young children, they're really struggling at times, because if they have first, second graders, they actually have to be sitting with them while they're being homeschooled by the school.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to, I don't know if you can imagine what it's like to work and actually concentrate while you're helping your kid at the same time. I don't know how they do it. I kudos to them and the teachers that have worked so hard to figure this out. And how to make it work. I'd love to hear what the best practices are from the schools. I think that would be a fabulous thing.
Interesting.
And one of my clients is a marketing firm, and I've actually suggested to them that they spend some time teaching that as one of their things that they could be doing.
I got a lot of grandchildren, and they say, well, this class, they hate this class, or this class is good, and I go, well, how was the teacher? And it turns out if the teacher was good before, the chances are pretty sure that the teacher will be good in an environment for Zoom. But all the schools it's Zoom. Zooming. Stewart, I got 12 grandchildren now.
Mazel tov. Congratulations. That's wonderful.
One.
I acquired one in the past year.
Oh, that's so nice to hear.
He's got one, and I got 12. But it's interesting because my grandchildren go from college, law school, really, to third grade or something. And it's very interesting how one of them doesn't even want to go on, because it's all remote. Another one, and then the schools are doing half choice, where you can go to the school or you can stay. But it's interesting. I think maybe the most innovative professor we heard of was of a law school, not all law schools, but the law school where they engaged the students.
Really, engaging is where it's at.
That's an art. So now I remember too, you probably have it, like law today is a business more than a profession, it seems. But all these law practices, they seem to have a marketing person too, marketing and public relations.
Yeah. Then depending on the size, they some of them they have a CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, and the bigger ones will divide it between marketing and business development, which are two different things.
But before the COVID, they used to go to 1 month they'd go to Michigan, another month they'd go to North Carolina, another month. But with your system, which is wonderful, they can just go more times just by the Zoom. Do you?
Well, this is, what one can do now is go anywhere in the country or the world without having to go anywhere, and that's really what this has allowed us to do. The difference between now and pre-March of this year is that before March of this year, people weren't as open and willing to use this technology. This technology was there. It's a little better now. It's certainly gotten better, and there's some new platforms. Zoom has been there. I've been using Zoom. A year and a half ago in June of a year ago, I was invited to do to be on a panel or to lead a panel in Chicago, and it was 3 days before my son's wedding. And I said, I can't do that because it's 3 days before my son's wedding. But I'd be happy to do it remotely, thinking they would say, well, we really want to do it in person, we'll find someone else. They came back and said, yes, we'd really like you to do this, and we'll do it remotely. So I was on a panel sitting right where I am now, the same spot. I was on a screen. I had 4 panelists sitting in front of me that I could see, and 50 people in the room, and I led that panel. I did my little program that I was going to do for 15 minutes, and then asked questions and led the panel through a discussion and responded to questions. And that was pre-COVID. that was rare. That was not done so much back, in the olden days, like before March. But things have changed, and people are more open and willing to go this route now, and I think that's a good thing. Medical appointments are being done by video.
Virtual.
Yeah. Virtual thing, everything, and the schools, and they're opening up new ways to do this. I mean, one of the people I worked with was the chief executive officer of a virtual school. They called themselves a distance school, as a college, and distance university. But now everybody's willing to do it. Before, when I was doing coaching, people only wanted to do telephone. I kind of like being on the phone sometimes because you can get up and walk around, and that's healthier.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm doing all my calls like this now, or most of them.
That's one of the things we've
have
realized
changed.
over the years, over the months. We've interviewed a lot of students on this show, ranging anywhere from middle and high school to college students and graduates. And they all say the same thing. They say, there's downsides to it, but we also have learned new ways to connect.
That's right.
And how to make the most of it in spite of what we're facing.
That's exactly right. And so it's all, it's all how you look at it, right? If you look at it as how can I make this work as best I can, and you have the ability and the tools to do that, terrific. If you don't have the ability and tools to do that, then there's issues, and there are people that have those issues, and that's part of the equality movement that we're on now. Bless you. That's really where we are now in trying to fix this and help other people. But so this has had a devastating effect on a lot of people, but it has also propelled us forward in other areas, and this is one of them.
Do you find that that older people resist these new ways? How do you get them to move?
Well, we got to define older people. What's the definition here?
Well, I can't really say age.
Are you older? I don't think so.
No, I'm with the latest in technology. Usually the first time it's out there, I go run. But my husband is still trying to figure out how to save and save as.
Well, what's nice is he's not going to see this then, because he won't know how to get to it. You just said it.
Isn't that interesting though? What do they do? What do they do? The people who they got to hire.
Well, I think it's an issue if you don't have the tools and or you don't have the capacity or desire to learn new things and get on it. It's a problem. But I can tell you, we've had Zoom family meetings. Another son of mine got married this summer. We had a lot of people there, 12, and so with a dozen people there, we all met in advance and we talked about it. I attended a meeting. I attended a Zoom wedding because we couldn't do his by Zoom because it was out in the middle of nowhere and there was no internet. But where I've attended a Zoom wedding, two of them actually, one in Dallas and one in New York.
Two Bristol.
Two Bristol, yeah. So there's plenty of opportunity to.
Are done by Zoom now.
Yeah, and I'm doing programs now. I have this law firm I work with, and I had to go to Dallas, and they brought in people from the 3 other offices or 2 other offices into their one office. Now I can be here. They don't have to fly anybody anywhere, and I could do my training right from here, and nobody has to go anywhere. And so there's a disadvantages because they don't get to talk to each other privately, but they could by chat if they once they start to realize it. There's positives and negatives to everything.
With that, we're going to have to wrap up.
Yes, of course.
We are. This is so interesting. I'm thinking of you've got to be kidding. We don't do. I ought to mention that we're doing well. We just did a police book for Andover, Mass, which is. Really,
congratulations.
They got some ingenious things. They bring in these little ponies, and they stop bullying. They call it "Whoa, we help others." Something
great.
And to stop bullying. I mean, it's innovative how the police always have to come up with something new. They do more than just walk around. They really work. They really work. But anyway, yeah. Oh, Stewart, thank you so much. This has been so wonderful. I'm really fascinated by it all.
Yes, and no matter what the circumstances are, to be successful always depends on the relationships that you build and nurture with people. It doesn't matter whether
Absolutely.
it's virtual or in person, if we ever get to do in person again, but it's true. And you've created something that's marvelous. It's something that would apply.
Really
It's
wonderful.
timeless. And we
Yeah.
can't tell you how much we appreciate your coming on again, because we all learned so much from you, Stewart.
I'm delighted to be here. You know, I did write a blog called Keep Young and Work the Virtual Room, and I wrote that maybe 8 years ago.
Oh, I like
maybe you
that.
better reintroduce it.
And
Yeah.
send it to us. We'll put it in our newsletter. We'll put
Okay.
we can do portions of it.
All right. Well, it's nice
All
to
right.
be here again. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
very
much for
much.
having me.
Sure.
Thank you.
And to our viewers, we thank you for watching.
Thank
And if you would like more knowledge about some of the things that Stewart does, send us an email and we'll put you in touch with him. Please let us know if you have any other ideas about topics for our show, because remember, this is your show, the law, your money, and you.
And you.
You.
And you. Bless you, Stewart.
Bye, everybody.